And we got the okay. Here we go. All right. That was like the Wizard of Oz right there. I got a text from the man himself, and he said go, and I'm like, oh man, are we ready to go? And just as soon as I almost said it, we started recording on the spot. So anyway, hello and welcome everybody. Excited to be with you guys tonight. Should have some really good information for you tonight. Really excited for a number of different reasons. It seems like we didn't do this on purpose, but we started this call over a year ago now. So we've gone over 52 weeks, I believe, unless I have my timing a little bit wrong, but I think it was just about 1 year ago right now, 52 consecutive weeks that we've hosted this call. And it's really interesting to see, what has happened as a result of it. And there's been wins and there's been trials, just as there will be no matter what it is that we embark on in this life, whether it's a personal journey of faith, whether it's a personal journey of fitness, whether it's a personal journey of business. But in light of that, there's a couple of things that we have learned so far. And one of the things that I'm gonna kind of open with is that we've learned a lot about formatting, right? And what's interesting is that we didn't plan this, but the last couple of times that we've done this, we've kind of had a two-part format. And if you look at really some of the concepts that we've been sharing both, philosophy and theory, things that can make a difference in your personal life, no matter where you are, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, really the nutrition of it, and then some workable nuts and bolts of the how-tos, the what to do, the, granular like action step items of the first steps that you'll be taking in order to kind of go out and grow your organization, your business, whether you're building a business with us or whether you're building a home-based business of any type. And so, before I bring Kevin on here, like he said, he's out traveling. He's been cross country all the way across the Midwest, from Utah, the Mountain West, all the way to I believe Chicago, the Illinois area, and then on his way back. And one of the things that he decided to do is that, there's nobody that I've ever met that's better at field testing ideas. So, for example, we will talk about, a strategy, a concept, an idea, a question, different ways to engage people, the messaging, what we need to communicate as a team, as a company, as leaders, so forth and so on. And he will go and he will practice and initiate conversations with new friends, people he hasn't talked to before, people that might know him, he might approach in a different way. And then what he does with that information is that he comes back to us and reports, basically, which is just such a tremendous asset to have in a leader, because it's been said for a long time that basically a leader is somebody that knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So what he's doing basically is working out one of the absolute key fundamental parts of this business, which is what are the best practices when it comes to communicating to somebody new about the product of Active, about the business opportunity of Active, right? And while each and every one of us, as we grow our organizations, as we become leaders in our own right, we won't all be able to copy somebody like Kevin perfectly. But what happens is that we start to understand frameworks that exist, because even though I might not say the exact same things verbatim that he says, or a Jason, or a Pete might not say the exact same things verbatim that a Kevin does, what happens in practice when you have a group of marketers that are out there that are initiating conversation and are exposing a wonderful product and helping people test, not guess, and helping them to see the possibility of potentially earning more income, maybe, adding a little bit of extra retirement income, or purchasing, adding enough income to purchase a car that they might want or something like that, that there are frameworks that each and every one of us will learn. And so the point of the story is to say that what you want to do, what I'm constantly doing, what Kevin's doing, is as we're working out these best ways to initiate these conversations, have these conversations, and to really get somebody exposed, we're going to learn frameworks that exist. So it might not be the exact same words that each and every person speak, but when you start to break down these conversations, you'll notice that when we have a massive organization that's really clicking, and that there's massive duplication, there's massive onboarding of new customers, there's massive onboarding of new influencers, and we're experiencing record-breaking growth, it'll be at that point that we realize that although the exact words may not be the same, the framework ultimately will be a best practice. And so I got to say that when we have Kevin on here in a minute and he starts to share with us some of the things, I know firsthand that he's been out, initiating conversations with dozens upon dozens upon dozens of different people. And we're going to hear a little bit about that. And what's been great about that is it's not just here, in his hometown of Utah, but it's all across the country. So different cultures, strangers, different states, and just such a tremendous, real resource to understand exactly what it is that we have to do. So there's always going to be two parts to the business. And before we have Kevin come on and before we hear from him, let's talk a little bit about the 10,000 foot view. So the 5-foot view, right? The ground level view is the actionable things, the things that we do on a daily and weekly basis, the initiating conversations, the sharing of product with somebody, the testing, not guessing, the showing somebody how to get started, the showing somebody how to get to the 300 club, the 1,000 club, so forth and so on. But the 10,000 view stuff is the stuff that ultimately makes the difference between the people who engage in something and a year from now, 2 years from now, things are fundamentally different for them, and the ones who don't. Because unfortunately, not everybody's going to walk the path, not everybody's going to take the journey, but it is my belief that the right people absolutely will. And so, one experience that's really, really common, and whether you're just getting started with us or whether you've been with us for a while, whether this is the first time you've ever tried to do business style business, something that involves selling and recruiting, or whether it's something that you've done for many, many years, you learn over time that there are two kind of pillars that you have to have. The first pillar, of course, a little bit of strategy, but the second pillar that you have to have is you have to generate influence. And so there's a saying that says that when you join a business like this, you are either rewarded or punished for who you were before this. Now, what exactly does that mean? Now, you will see as we grow and as we accelerate, you'll see people that come into the business with their hair on fire and they grow rapidly. And, the stories that'll come from their organization, the successes that they have from their organization, it'll make people inspired, but it'll also make people wonder why. How are they doing that? And usually what it is that they're being rewarded for the levels of influence that they had in their personal life before they came to a business like this. Maybe they had business, in a home-based business where they have leaders already that they've established relationships with so they can bring them with them. Maybe they, were influential in a church, for example, or in their community or in a business, a traditional business. And so people will naturally respect them, more so than, let's say, somebody that if you've ever heard that saying that basically your life is either, an inspiration or a warning, right? And so if you're somebody that hasn't necessarily created widespread influence, you haven't had the success that you want, you've been kind of touch and go, bouncing on the runway, so to speak, which there's no shame in that. This is an incredible platform and springboard to start to shape your life, to go in a new direction, to create new results. But chances are that you're going to have work to do when you come into the business to start to create that influence. So one of the most common things that I've heard over the last 10, 15 years as we've been doing businesses like this is, the frustration that we've all experienced where it's like, sheesh, nobody will listen to me, right? I'm trying to tell people about the benefits of this product. I'm trying to tell people about the possibility of what we can grow, but nobody will listen to me. And so if you haven't felt that yet, you might. It's a pretty strong chance that you will feel that at some point. And so it's really important to realize that it doesn't matter where you are today. What matters is that it's going to take as much time as it's going to take no matter what, right? There's a great old saying that says, okay, I've been putting off ordering, that package that I need. And it's like, because it's going to take 2 weeks because it's back ordered and has to go overseas. And it's like, well, whether you order it today or whether you order it in 2 weeks, it's still going to take 2 weeks. So you might as well get that thing ordered because 2 weeks is going to go by anyway. And the analogy there basically is like, it's going to take as long as it's going to take for you to get into a place where you can be the person that can build the business that you want the income of, but it's all going to be grounded and founded on your ability to create influence. So let's talk for a quick second about what are a couple of key ways that you can start to create influence. Now, one of the ways in our modern world that you, of course, can create influence is through affluence, right? And so people who generate above average income, people who generate wealth tend to be influential. Not all of them. And some people, are looked down upon because they might, exhibit greed or they might exhibit some unhealthy characteristics. But oftentimes somebody that has high degrees of success is somebody that is influential in their community, usually influential in business, influential in all different, aspects of life. Now, if you came here because you're saying, hey, I want more than what I'm already experiencing, then chances are that even if you have experienced a small or moderate degree of success financially, that the influence that you're going to have in the beginning may not be as much as you want. So one of the most challenging aspects of this is when you're basically at a posture level that's lower than somebody that you want to, bring to the business, but unfortunately they don't take you seriously because maybe they have a $300,000 thermostat and you have a $80,000 thermostat. And so even though you have a 7-figure business potential here, they're looking at you with, from the socioeconomic levels that they're already at. And that can be very difficult. And there's different ways to utilize the people like our owners, so forth and so on, that have had massive levels of success, 8-figure levels of success, to communicate with people like that. And, we can talk a little bit about more of that. But the next way to create massive influence is through your health and wellness. There's nothing in this modern day and age, I would be willing to argue, that has as much influence as somebody that is healthy. Now, we all know the person who, seemingly has been an athlete for their entire life. They've always been skinny like a rail. They can eat whatever they want to eat, and they just always seem to be totally fine. They're gobbling down desserts and this and that, and they're always, tall and lean. And that person may have a little bit of influence to strangers, right? But if somebody really knows that person, that's usually not the individual who is going to have the most amount of influence. Let me tell you who the person who has the most amount of influence when it comes to using health and wellness as a way to, communicate a message. The person who's willing to make a personal transformation. And a personal transformation can be anything. It literally is going from where you are to going to a better place, right? And the beautiful thing about what we have here is that simply by engaging with our brand, simply by taking our product, you already are going to position yourself to experience increasing degrees of wellness, increasing degrees of nutrition, increasing degrees. Now, that could show up in a lot of different ways, right? You'll hear stories of people's nails and hair growing faster. You'll hear stories of people's skin and complexion getting clearer, right? And you'll also, of course, hear stories of people improving in their nitrous oxide levels and maybe even improving in, their ability to digest, to feel a little bit better. But what I would recommend is that if you are in a place where you're anything but optimal health and fitness, is that use your goal, creating a big business with Active, as fuel one step further in improving your personal health, right? The easy things that I always think about are this, is that what is something that each and every one of us can do and ought to do, that it's not that difficult. It might be a little bit easier not to do it, but we know that we should all, and we should do it every. First thing is, of course, drinking more water. Now, the beautiful thing is, if you're drinking Active Greens, one of my favorite things to do is to drink it first thing in the morning, 36 ounces of water, a little bit of creatine, and have that as a foundation of getting hydration into the body. Because we all know that most people in America are chronically dehydrated. In fact, most people are confusing as much as 60% of their hunger as their dehydration as hunger. So what that means is that there's tons and tons and tons of people out there that are eating food that they don't need to be eating simply because they're dehydrated and they don't know the difference in the signaling of it. So if we start drinking greens, which now we're a product of the product, we start to consume more water. Now, the next thing that we can all do is we can start to look for more ways to walk more. Walking is the most effective way for most people to get exercise. There's studies that have been done that if you start walking over 7,000 steps per day, you reduce your risk of heart disease and heart attack by almost double. So it goes down 50% just simply by walking 7,000 steps. And there's so many different ways to do that. And then one step further than that is looking for a way to start to incorporate resistance training of somehow. And this call is not going to go into depth exactly about what that is. But if you start to do these things and you start to make this a part of your routine, you can't help but to get in better shape. And if you start to get in better shape, you can't help but to start creating curiosity from the people around you. It might be coworkers, it might be people at church, it might be family, it might be friends, but eventually somebody's going to start saying, they're saying, what are you doing? And then you're going to have an opportunity to not only share about your active greens, to not only share about making responsible choices that naturally are going to create influence, but because you are now knowing the way, showing the way, and going the way, you already subconsciously are showing up as a leader to anybody that might inquire without having had to make a penny at the business. So that's really one pillar of what I wanted to discuss tonight. And as you go out in your week this week, and of course, Kevin, we're going to hear from now, and he's going to tell us all about all the different conversations that he's been having and some of the amazing recruiting, epiphanies that I'm sure that he's been having. But think these two things is that what would it feel like if a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, I was feeling better than I've ever felt, or I was feeling as good as I felt when I was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. And the second thing that I would start to think about, this is a beautiful, beautiful question, but whatever it is that your goal is, whether it's, to lose 50 pounds, or whether your goal is to, maybe participate in some type of athletic feat, or maybe your goal is to, create a certain amount of income, instead of saying, what would have to happen in order for that to occur, ask yourself the question of, who do I have to become so that I can be 50 pounds lighter? Who do I have to become so that I can have a business on the side that makes an extra 6 figures, so forth and so on? So who do I have to become? And with that, Kevin, if you're good to go, jump
Let's
in.
go.
Let's go.
I've just driven I set my new record for speed. I was just like, I got to get to a place so I can stop with decent bars. So thank you so much, so much. I want to touch on what you said about resistance training, because that's what I did over the last 2 weeks, is resistance training. I encountered so much resistance. I'm too much for the middle of America. I'll tell you what, I go caffeinated to the nines, road tripping. I've been in 13 states. I've driven 4,957 miles. I need an oil change. I need 2 nights of sleep. I'm exhausted, but everybody that comes within 5 feet of me is getting greened up. I don't care. They're getting greened up. I have tried so many openers just to see, and I'm like striking out. I have not drank the greens much in this 2 weeks because I'm in scarcity. I brought 3 bags. I don't have any greens. I found one that they said fell in the back. I'm like, I've not given anyone more than 2 sticks. And the last 10 or 15 people, I've gotten better at asking questions because I have struck out so much. My feelings got hurt. I felt insecure. My ego got bruised. I got mad. I got sad. I got depressed. I got hurt. I was Eeyore. And I was like, I don't care. It's not me. It's them. And I was like, maybe I'm not asking the right questions, because it's so much easier with people that you know. Everything Peyton just said, he was spitting so much truth. It's right. It's so much easier with people you already have a relationship built with. But I figure, hey, why the heck not? I'm writing it all off. I'm talking to everybody. And I got to the point where I was just like, dude, I'm tired of trying these questions. I tried, have you had your greens today? What did you do for your nutrition? Did you take a multivitamin? How are you feeling today? You got good energy? Hey, did you know that heart disease is the biggest? I tried so many different openers. And I got to the point where I'm like, dude, nobody here wants more in life. It seems like everybody's content to just do what they're doing and have what they have. And it's like, well, I went to school 40 years ago for this, so that's what I am now. And everybody's kind of seems like in that little thing. And I'm like, man, where's the person that wants more? So I started just kind of getting, like in a video game, it's when you go invincibility mode where you're like, dude, I can't get hurt. I already got hurt. I was already sad. I was already depressed. I've already been rejected. I've already got all the resistance. I literally got nothing to lose. I'm never going to see these people again. I don't care. I'm talking to everybody. And so I just started being like, do you have a dream? Do you have a plan that's working towards your dream? And they're like, well, no, I'm doing this. And I'm like, dude, I have a job. You have a job. We have a job. How does it feel when you get paid? They're like, well, not good because I spend the money and I need more money. I'm like, tell me about it. Doesn't matter how much you make. That seems like what it's like. Would you be open to looking at something that might get you to your dream faster? Dude, I swear that was the best. Like, of all the questions I asked, it was like right to the jugular. And here's the sad part. Do you know how many people said no? Like 75% of people still were like, no, I don't have a dream. No, I don't have a plan. No, I'm just good. Dude, that's like heartbreaking. I realized something on this trip. It's not me. It's them. You should just share it with a ton of people because a lot of people have given up. We're looking for the needle in the haystack. A lot of people have given up. No matter what I said, no matter which conversation point I went to, I could not stir or evoke or awaken enough of a dream in like 75% of the people that I talked to. I had 90 sticks. I drank 6. I have one like that I just found. I probably lost a couple, but I probably talked to like 80 people. Like 80 people that I gave sticks to. I didn't give sticks to everybody I talked to. I gave sticks to the people that were interested. I gave my number to a bunch of people. That's a no-no. I should be getting their number. There were only 3 people. I was like, ooh, I would follow up with her. She's like a lady who was like physically abused by every guy she ever dated. She's like, I'm just not going to date. And she's like raising 6 kids on her own. She crochets and she's hustling crochet stuff online while working 2 jobs. I'm like, this lady has a dream. When I started talking to her, she immediately could see people that would be interested. And I said it like this. I was like, you got 2 pathways. You know, every company out there, and she's never heard of this before. She has no idea. I was like, every company makes $1, spends 50 cents on advertising. We didn't want to pay Google and Facebook. We thought we'd pay people. So we'll pay that 50% to you, instead of giving it to the big company if you get the customer. But if you don't get the customer and you find somebody that has the customer, then that leads to a question I was going to finish with. We'll give you $1 a bag every month on that order. It may not seem like a lot. And then I ask the closing question, which to me is my favorite question and the second most effective question of like ultra field testing. And this question goes like this. Hey, one of my friends, it was always somebody else. One of my friends is launching a brand and they're looking for the influencer type person. Do you know somebody that either has a dream, has a pretty big following, or is one of those like internet content creator folks? And then the person's like, yes or no. And then the conversation goes from there. That was my favorite question. And I was like, well, do you have a dream? And that was how I segued into that. And by the end of the trip, the kids were rolling their eyes because they'd heard it so many times. Oh, here he goes again. And that is the question, though. It's like, do you know anyone like that? And then I would tell them like 50%, but you would, if you brought that guy on and he had 100,000 people buy it, that's $100,000. And their eyes got big and they started prospecting in the moment. And when they showed enough interest, I considered that the turn. And that was where I then brought up the conversation about the sticks. I ran out of test strips way too early, only had like 10 packs. I ran out of those so quick, and it was all about the greens. And those were like the highlights of the whole thing. I'm shocked at how few of people have a dream. That's like the saddest thing. So while you're out there sharing this week, like, just don't think that it's you. It's like, I have a stupid analogy, but when I was dating and I wasn't married yet, I was like, I feel like the philosophy in a relationship is like, it's a place you go to give, not get. So if you haven't mastered life as a single man or woman, it's like, what are you doing? You have no business in a relationship. Like, get your crap dialed before getting into one in that sense. And it's like, if relationship's a place you go to give, then there's an aspect here of like abundance that has to be in all aspects of the relationship thing. And so like, I remember when I get rejected during single years, I would mentally be like, oh, they didn't love themselves enough because to be with me, because I'm over here like, hey, here's some love. Would you like it? And they're either like, yeah, no, I'm good. Or it was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then it was like, no, I'm good. Or it was like, I'm trying to give, you don't want it. That has nothing to do with me. I'm out here with green juice. It's $2 in my hand that I paid for, that I'm willing to give to you, and I've got an opportunity for you. If you don't want it, that's on you. I'm asking. Yeah, I take no offense. You clearly don't want it. That's on you. You must be doing way better in nutrition. You must be doing way better in money. You must be doing way better in time. So clearly you don't need this. And that was the nature of the mindset I went in. And I started thinking, I'm like, I didn't field test an idea. I straight launched my business because I started being like, it's so much more effective with the people that I'm scared to talk to, that I've had relationships with. And if I'm willing to do that with strangers, then I need to suck it up, grow a pair, and reach out to the people I'm too scared to reach out to. Because if God forbid I did, the phishing statistics would be so much greater because I've already developed the relationship, and it would be easy enough to leverage the relationship to get them to take a look at some information. And it's literally as simple as that, and giving them a freebie of some green juice. That's it. I'm like, so I challenge y'all this week. Don't go crazy and do what I did. I've been in 13 states, 4,800 miles. I'm like caffeinated to the nines. And in scarcity, I should have brought 10 bags. But I would say this week, if you're on this call, if you're watching the replay, if you're catching this, it's literally as simple as leveraging your relationships to have them take a look to see if they have a dream and if they have something they're working towards with that dream. That's it. And if not, take a look at mine and see if it's something that would work. And then if they say no, ask for the referral. Hey, who do you know out there that's one of those influencer types, knows a ton of people, or like has a big dream and would want something? Who can you think of? Can you connect me? Because that's the next best thing. Sometimes it's better to ask for the referral than to ask for the person to be the prospect. So I'm excited about the leads I've generated, the people that are interested. Only signed 2 people up out of all those people, but I sent out like 6 coupon codes and not one of them used them. So human nature, but hey, it's the beginning. We're still at it. Think of the daunting mountain to climb ahead of us, of like, if we wanted hundreds of thousands of people all over on this product, wherever you live, there's that many people there now. And you don't have to travel to do it. And it doesn't take that many to find the right one. But we're definitely looking for someone that has a dream, and the dream's not as alive out there as I thought. So don't take it personal. Just try more, try harder. Just know that it's like, if you care, it's easy. If you don't care, you're in your way and you're thinking about yourself, which, how do I look? What do they think of me? Oh, they're going to this. That's selfish. It's way better to focus on them, because you don't know who's on their knees praying for an opportunity. I pray deeply in my heart for God, or the universe, or whatever's out there that I'm uncertain of, to put the person on the path and allow me to be the conduit that connects the thing for that person that is looking, that is looking for this, because that would be such a great honor to be able to be that person that played that role in their life. So that's the prayer on my heart, and the actions follow. I'm so grateful that you're on this call tonight, and I thank you guys for being here. And if you need me, if you need a conference call, a 3-way call, if you need anything, I'm just a text away, and so's Peyton. And I thank you so much for being on tonight's call. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening and a good week.